Welcome. In this short video, I will cover some of the most important parts of the Victoria Makerspace Open House Tour. My goal here is to give you a quick overview of the space. Normally this tour is about an hour long, takes place in person, has lots of questions and answers. You'll find some additional FAQs on our website, and you can ask questions on our forum, which is free to join, and it's a great step if you're considering membership. We are a not-for-profit that exists under the BC Societies Act. We're 100% run by volunteers, the very same volunteers who make up our membership. If you're looking to join, you're asking to become one of these volunteers. Memberships cost $50 a month for most members, $30 for students. There's an additional $10 fee to get your access card. That's a one-time fee. Once you get your access card, you'll have 24-hour access to the Makerspace shop and with a few caveats to all the tools. The tools you don't get immediate access to require a checkout to make sure you know enough not to damage the tool or yourself. This is informal. It can be arranged through the Makerspace forum with your fellow members volunteering their personal time to do the checkouts. Tools have to stay at the Makerspace. We are not a tool library where you can check out tools to take home. You can bring your own tools, but as storage is tight here, you should plan on taking them home with you. In some cases, members can loan a tool to the community, but the details should be worked out first. Members are responsible for their own PPE and consumables. This includes drill bits, sandpaper, wood, metal, fasteners, glue, screws, nails, you name it. We try and keep a serviceable blade on all the saws in the shop for the community to use. However, they are often dull. So if you prefer a sharp blade, you'll want to start bringing these as well. Although our facilities are geographically close to Camosun College, we're actually located on the Vancouver Island Tech Park. So we're more closely related to the University of Victoria through our landlords than to Camosun. The relationship between Makerspace and the Tech Park is really important to us. And if you join our community, then maintaining that relationship should be on your mind. We've got a really good thing going here, and having to move at this point would be pretty devastating. As a member, you'll be representing us in your interactions with security and with other tenants at the park, and we would really appreciate it if you did so admirably. We're looking for long-term members, not short-term members. If you're only planning to finish one project here and then canceling your membership, this isn't going to be a great fit. There's a couple reasons for this. First, our community of volunteers have to onboard all the new members, and this is a big burden. A burden we're more than happy to shoulder as long as you stick around long enough to help out. Secondly, long-term members have traditionally treated our tools with a lot more respect. With that in mind, memberships are billed month to month, and there's no penalty for cancellation. So if you join and you realize that this isn't your cup of tea, no hard feelings. I'm usually asked at this point, how long is long-term? It's a hard question to answer. Ideally, you'll find this a really fulfilling community and you'll want to stick around forever. But if you really push me on a minimum, I'd say about a year. The next point is important, so I'm going to try and cover it a few different ways. We're not a business in the traditional sense. Think of us less like a fully functional commercial shop and more like your friend's garage. For example, if you were to show up at your friend's house to use their welder and it was broken, you wouldn't get mad at your friend. You'd figure out what was wrong with the welder and fix it. If you didn't have the knowledge to fix the welder yourself, you'd talk to your friend and say, hey, how can I help fix it? This is the sort of mindset you need to bring to the Makerspace. The tools are probably here, but the condition isn't guaranteed. And in a community shop like ours, it's everyone's responsibility to maintain, repair, tidy, and share. So if something's broken, it's everybody's responsibility. If two people want to use the same tool at the same time, then they need to have a conversation about how they're going to share it. We don't have any staff, which means our Makerspace membership is the staff. So if the garbage is overflowing, a member needs to take it to the dumpster. If the wood scrap trailer is overflowing, a member needs to take it to the dump. It's really important that everyone cleans up after themselves, because if you don't, the mess is going to have to be dealt with by another member. And they're probably not going to be jazzed about that. if you don't put the tools back where they're supposed to be or where you got them from, then at best they're just going to clutter up the workspace, and at worst they're going to rust away in some forgotten corner. We're a motley collective of people pooling their money to buy tools and rent shop space. If you're not stoked to be sharing tools and space with a bunch of people you don't know yet, then this is probably not the community for you. It's possible to run a business and use the Makerspace shop space as your shop. That's fine. We don't expect anything else from you beyond if you're using the space a whole bunch, please put in a whole bunch. So help out a lot. Take out lots of garbage, maybe fix a lot of machines. In the past, a lot of startups have donated tools to us that they needed for their workflow, but then when they moved on, they left it with us. This was great. The second caveat to having a business at the Makerspace is that you don't get a higher priority than anyone else. So that means that the hobbyist has equal rights to all the tools as you do. So if you've got a big deadline coming up and you need to push 1,000 board feet through the table saw, and someone has to come in and all they want to do is cut down a piece of hardboard so they can use it on the laser engraver, well, you have equal rights to those tools. So maybe a good conversation to have at that point would be how difficult it is for you to set up for this linear push, how long you're going to be. Maybe it's better for everybody if they hop in, do a quick cut, and then you reset up and do your big long run through the table saw. Um, just because you have a deadline doesn't mean everyone else has to respect it. But we expect everybody to be polite and to share and share alike. Parking at the Victoria Makerspace, we've got a shared parking lot. We've got 4 stalls that are ours, so to speak, that are reserved 24 hours a day, and 2 that are sort of our loading bay. You can't park here if you're not at the space at that very moment, just in case someone needs to move your vehicle to access either the outdoor metal shed or the loading bay. They have to be able to kind of run inside and find you. Um, Parking in those 4 spaces is free 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Parking in any of the other spaces is paid. There's a kind of a automated kiosk where you can pay, I believe it's a very small 250 for 4 hours or something like that. Um, there's also an app you can download to pay for parking in those other spots. You have to pay for parking from 9 to 5. I believe the posted hours are slightly different, but those are the essential hours. If you get a ticket in one of the pay parking spots, we can't help you. If you get a ticket while parked in one of our 4, we'll do our very best. Although we have many of the tools that you might want in an auto shop, we aren't really set up for auto mechanical work. You can do light work. However, you have to be extremely cautious and conscientious about any oils touching the ground outside in the shared parking lot because we are very careful about our relationship with our landlords. Cars can't stay here overnight. You can't sleep in a car in our parking lot for sure, but also any mechanical job that you undertake at the space has to be able to be finished within a few hours and leave. So you can maybe change your brake pads or something like that, but you're not going to want to take on a high risk job, which may leave your car immobilized while you're waiting for a part or something like that. That's outside of the scope of what you can conceivably plan for at the makerspace in terms of auto repair. Oil products of all kinds are prohibited at the Victoria Makerspace. That is because we've had some very close calls with poorly disposed of oily rags in the past. They spontaneously combusted, and we had small garbage fires. This is extremely dangerous, and because of our scope and how many members and our lack of direct overseeing, we had to come out with a blanket policy to say no more oil products. No one's happy about this. However, we haven't been able to find a good disposal method for oily rags at our volumes, which are fairly low. Um, if you have a solution, we're all ears. However, for the time being and for the foreseeable future, there are no oil finishes possible at the Makerspace. Storage at the Makerspace is limited. So limited, in fact, that I would be tempted to say there is no storage at the Makerspace. That would not be fully true. You can rent a locker at the Makerspace for small things, small tools, and you can put a lock on that. But for the most part, you should think of the space as somewhere you bring your project to work on it, but then you take your project away. We have a system in place to provide short-term storage for glue ups and things like that that are only going to take 12 hours or so. You can leave your name, phone number, and the time or date, and that it should be unmolested, or at the very least, you'll get a phone call before someone touches it to make sure that the glue is dry. But for the most part, you should really see the makerspace as somewhere that you bring your project, work on it, but not as somewhere that your project can live.